The fight over cross-border sewage goes to court, and how the Trump administration is trying to get a local case thrown out. And a legal win for the city of San Diego. Now a major Balboa Park project will move forward after a 6-year delay.
If their hearing is damaged, they're basically as good as dead. It's the way they communicate, it's often the way they find food.
The Navy is changing the way it operates to better protect wildlife. KPBS goes on board the USS Higgins to see the new approach.
Proposition 64 was pretty clear that part of the trade-off was that cities would have the ability to have some control over how marijuana was dispensed.
A challenge to California's marijuana rules. Local mayors try to keep pot delivery services out of their cities. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. The federal case involving cross-border sewage spills from Mexico went before a judge today. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has reaction from the mayor of Imperial Beach, one of the cities behind the lawsuit.
Imperial Beach, Chula Vista, and the Port of San Diego sued the federal government in March as a last-ditch effort to stop persistent cross-border sewage spills. Federal officials are asking the court to dismiss the case. They argue the International Boundary and Water Commission didn't create the pollution, so it is not responsible. Plaintiff's attorney Mark Edling disagreed.
The law is very clear, Supreme Court on down, that you do not have to be the original source of pollution to be liable under our laws. And you don't even have to look any farther than why does the IBWC exist at all? It exists to capture and treat transboundary contamination, and they're not doing it.
It was an emotional morning for Imperial Beach Mayor Serge Dedina, who listened intently to the hearing in Judge Jeffrey Miller's courtroom. Dedina pushed for legal action after a winter storm in 2017 washed more than 200 million gallons of raw sewage through the Tijuana River Valley estuary on the U.S. side of the border.
It's a very emotional morning for me. Vivid memories of taking my kids to the emergency room. You know, we have little kids here. Our kids are getting sick. Our lifeguards are getting sick. And sorry, it's been a long road and a really tough fight. And it really meant a lot to me that our members of our community were here to support that.
The Surfrider Foundation has also sued the federal government over this issue, and the Regional Water Quality Control Board and California Attorney General have also filed intent to sue. Judge Miller says he plans to visit the border to assess the situation. He took today's arguments under advisement and could issue a ruling on the government's dismissal request soon. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Southern California Edison is discussing a mishap involving the transfer of spent nuclear fuel at San Onofre. A canister was caught on an inner ring last week at the new storage site. A similar incident happened in March. The utility says the work was done by a contractor earlier this month and that there was no threat to the public. Additional training will be given to staff who work at the site. The Navy is rolling out its latest plan to manage wildlife from Southern California to Hawaii. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh went on board the USS Higgins to learn more.
The Navy destroyer USS Higgins navigates the congested waters of Southern California. During a recent training mission, they deploy a Kingfisher, a type of active sonar that trails behind the ship on a long tether. They use it to hunt for mines, but the sound can seriously injure whales. As they leave San Diego Bay, below deck, the crew monitors a map on a computer screen. Lieutenant Eileen Allegra says that map tells them whether it's safe to turn on the sonar.
It came up and said there's no restrictions, and it tells us, but if a whale comes, this close to you, make sure you power down the sonar by this much.
The Navy created this detailed protocol over several years in response to lawsuits brought by environmental groups. Some of the Navy's most intense training happens in the waters between California and Hawaii. Carrier groups train here before deploying to the Pacific. The Marines practice amphibious landings along the California coast. But these sounds can disrupt marine life. Brett Hartle is with the Center for Biological Diversity.
Many marine mammals, so beaked whales, blue whales, humpback whales, they rely on sound. We can't even hear it because they're communicating at levels we can't fathom with our ears and we can't detect it. But if they can't hear, if their hearing is damaged, they're basically as good as dead. It's the way they communicate, it's often the way they find food.
A 2015 settlement in a federal lawsuit required the Navy to reduce the use of active sonar. Certain habitat is also off limits to the military during parts of the year, including a blue whale foraging area off the coast of San Diego. But the Navy's proposed plan loosens some of those restrictions. Alex Stone is the Navy's project manager for the new plan.
Instead of in the context of litigation, we've looked at everything new, using science, using what is practical for us to implement in terms of mitigation.
Stone says the new plan will still take into account sensitive habitat and lays out when and where the Navy can use sonar and detonate explosives. But environmentalists say the plan erases some of the progress they fought for over the years. Brett Hartle with the Center for Biological Diversity.
The Navy has made progress in the past. They have restricted some of their activities in the past. Now they're sort of backsliding a little bit, and we're concerned about that because there are reasonable ways of dealing with both military training and protecting marine mammals.
Environmentalists want the Navy to limit explosions in sonar in more areas where they know marine mammals congregate at certain times of the year. But that would likely mean fewer exercises close to shore, and the Navy resists moving exercises farther out to sea. At the end of their first day of exercises, the USS Higgins was still close enough to shore that a group of visiting midshipmen from the Naval Academy could still go back to San Diego on board small landing craft. Stone says going farther from shore isn't practical.
We want to be as efficient as we can with our training, and having our forces steam, hundreds of miles out before they can even start training just doesn't work well.
The Navy's own studies have shown the impact active sonar has on marine mammals. Even large blue whales will turn away from ships using it. Most of the time, the ships use passive sonar, essentially listening to the ocean. But active sonar is more accurate. It bounces high-intensity sound off an object. The Navy trains spotters to scan the horizon for marine mammals. They're supposed to shut down exercises if they see a whale breaching nearby. But Hartle says even trained spotters can't see what's under the water. Species like the endangered beak whale aren't easy to locate.
I've been out on the ocean. I've done whale surveys. They're hard to find. Beak whales are only 10, 15 feet long. And in a big ocean, it's easy to miss them.
In June, the California Coastal Commission unanimously rejected the Navy's plan. The two sides say they're still talking. The Navy actually doesn't need California's approval. The National Marine Fisheries Service does have to approve the plan. The current plan expires December 25th. And of course, the new plan, like the last one, could end up in court. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
After 6 years of delay, the city of San Diego's Plaza de Panama project will move forward. A Superior Court judge ruled in favor of the city, saying the funding plan is legal. The city council approved the project in 2012. Designs call for a redesign of the Balboa Park attraction that would limit vehicle traffic. Challengers say it should have gone before a public vote. A small fire broke out near the San Diego Zoo Safari Park this afternoon. It started around 3 off San Pasqual Road. The Sheriff's Department says a part of the 78 highway was closed and some homes in the area were evacuated. Several fires have burned in the area over the past couple of weeks. Members of President Donald Trump's cabinet are in California to visit areas impacted by wildfires. Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke and Agricultural Secretary Sonny Perdue met with first responders and fire victims. The Carr fire destroyed 1,600 homes and other buildings. To the south, the Mendocino Complex fire continues to burn. It's now more than 300,000 acres and is the largest wildfire in state history. Earlier today, Secretary Zinke told a Sacramento news station that climate change is not a factor in these fires. But as David Nazar from PBS SoCal reports, climate scientists say changing weather patterns add to the risk.
Southern California, December 2017, several massive wildfires attacked the region from all corners, from southern San Diego County all the way to northern Ventura County and Santa Barbara. There were 4 major fires north of downtown Los Angeles. The worst was the Thomas Fire in Ventura County. There was also the Creek Fire in Sonar, the Rye Fire in Santa Clarita, and the Skirball Fire on the Sepulveda Overpass in West LA. The combination of these fires scorched hundreds of square miles and destroyed or damaged thousands of homes, forcing both mandatory and voluntary evacuations throughout several Southland counties. Many scientists now believe climate change is a major contributor of wildfires in California and across the nation, particularly in western states like Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, and Utah.
Climate change increases the dryness of the winds when they occur. It increases the temperature of the winds when they occur. And it also increases the swings between very wet and dry years. So what happened with the fires last season were a great example of what's to come with fire. We had a really, really big wet season in 2016-2017, and that led to a buildup of vegetation. That vegetation dried out over the course of a very hot summer in 2017. And then the rainy season did not arrive as it should have. And so by the time we got to December, we had these very hot and dry Santa Ana events that occurred, and that was the perfect conditions for a very large fire. Climate change will increase the frequency of those types of events.
To really get an idea of what Hall is talking about, we have to take you back to December 2017 for a personal look at the Thomas Fire, the worst California wildfire ever recorded in state history. During December, Southern California had hurricane force-like winds near 70 miles an hour. That's something the SoCal area hadn't seen in decades. Firefighters had established a command post at the Ventura County Fairgrounds. It was a 24/7 effort for all the fire crews. Our news drone demonstrates the enormity of that team effort. There were more than 500 engines from all over California stationed at the fairgrounds, with more than 2,500 firefighters. Chris Harvey was part of that team.
We've had a long history of destructive and catastrophic wildfires in Southern California. We're talking about a fire that's over the size of the city of Detroit at this point.
Weeks later, the Thomas Fire had engulfed an area larger than New York City.
It is like a war zone. You're driving through areas where they're completely burnt out and black. It looks like a bomb went off.
Gretel Compton lived in Ojai during the fire. Ojai is a quaint, artsy town of nearly 8,000 residents about 90 miles north of downtown Los Angeles. Gretel explained the Thomas Fire had surrounded her area and destroyed part of her home.
I want to go home. I want to see what the damage is. I have no water. I have no power. I'm on a well. You know, all of that stuff is burnt. Other friends and neighbors have lost everything. And now they have to start from scratch, and it's just so heart-wrenching.
Our natural landscapes actually need wildfire to regenerate, and we have to learn how to coexist sustainably with wildfire going forward. And that's something that we haven't done a great job with in California.
While California climate scientists like Alex Hall are trying to learn more about this coexistence and the impact climate change has on wildfires, NASA scientists are using innovation and technology to do their own information gathering on wildfire sustainability. In fact, during the Thomas Fire, NASA got its view of the fire from 70,000 feet above ground. A team of NASA scientists used this high-altitude aircraft to survey the environmental impacts the fires were causing. The aircraft is equipped with a high-tech imaging spectrometer built at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena. It's called AVIRIS, the Airborne Visible Infrared Imaging Spectrometer. AVIRIS collects images through smoke and dust to study the ground surface below. Things like trees and other foliage that become fuel for wildfires, water content in leaves, particle matter in the air produced from the smoke, and it accurately measures fire temperatures. While this technology helps scientists learn about wildfire cause and prevention and the collateral damage to the environment, it is still the boots on the ground that ultimately have the best perspective.
We do take a very personal feeling to what's going on here. And so I hate to say this, but this could continue to be a very explosive and expansive event.
As a scientist, I'm very concerned about our sustainability relationship with fire. The most important thing that we can do to combat climate change is to stop burning fossil fuels. We need to replace those energy sources with renewable energy sources. Examples of those are solar power, wind power, hydropower. Those are the things we need to rely on in the future. We will see less warming in California, and that will lead to less of an impact on fire. That will lead to less of an increase in fire risk.
That's part of a report from the program Sustaining California. You can see the full show at pbssocal.org.
I hope you had a great weekend. Now we are back to the work week, and today was not too bad. It stayed nice and dry, pretty sunny for everyone. Temperatures, well, they are a bit warm in spots, above average, nothing like we saw last week. So we're not talking extreme heat, but again, warmer than it should be. Taking a look at the radar, the big picture, not much happening here in the southwest. It is quiet. You'll notice that. Along the coast, you'll see those clouds, especially overnight and into those morning hours. By the afternoon, again, it's nice and sunny. Tonight, we expect San Diego to be at 72, Chula Vista 69, Oceanside right around 65. The interior areas, well, it's going to be nice in Ramona tonight at 60, and Mount Laguna pretty quiet at 59 degrees. Again, in the metro, partly cloudy, 72 for the low temperature. Now, tomorrow, it's going to be hot in the deserts. We will see a little bit of monsoon activity across Arizona. It's not going to reach us, but we will see a bit of a cool breeze coming on off the Pacific. So at times it will feel pretty nice in our beach communities. That's the place to be. San Diego 83 with a nice breeze, lots of sunshine. Should be in those mid 70s this time of year for our highs. So that tells you it's still a bit warm. Oceanside 81, Ramona around 90, Mount Laguna 79. That's the cool spot in the mountains, and Borrego Springs still cooking in the triple digits. Late week, not much is going to change. It's going to stay dry and pretty nice for everyone. Along the coast, expect to see lots of sunshine. By the weekend, it's going to become pretty humid. So while temperatures will remain in the 80s, by the weekend it will be in the mid-80s. Add in the humidity, and the AccuWeather real feels will be closer to those mid-90s. Tuesday, in the interior areas, partly cloudy, around 89 degrees. It's going to warm up for the weekend, too, staying sunny and in the low 90s. In the mountains, we could see a shower or a storm develop Wednesday, but the rest of the week is pretty dry. Chance of a storm Thursday. Temperatures again getting warmer by the weekend in the 80s, and it's going to stay pretty pleasant in the deserts if you like those triple digits. Chance of a storm on Thursday. For KPBS News, I'm Erin Calandra. Ebony, back to you.
A member of San Diego's Downtown Development Agency is fined for what the Ethics Commission calls an egregious conflict of interest. Civic San Diego Board Chair Phil Rath has agreed to pay $11,000. The Ethics Commission says he failed to disclose his business relationship with Affirm Housing. Affirm paid Rath's public affairs company more than $100,000. Months later, Rath's voted in favor of Affirm's bid on a proposed multi-million-dollar mixed-use housing development. In a statement, Commission Chair Deborah Cochran wrote, "These violations are extremely egregious because they undermine public confidence in the integrity of the city's decision-making process." Some cities in San Diego County might challenge recently proposed statewide marijuana rules. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says the cities are worried about delivery services.
This week, the city councils of El Cajon and San Marcos are considering sending letters in opposition to proposed state pot rules. California's Bureau of Cannabis Control is in the middle of taking public comment on recently proposed regulations. San Marcos and El Cajon city officials are worried about where marijuana delivery services are allowed to operate. The Bureau of Cannabis Control is considering adding a provision that says, quote, a delivery employee may deliver to any jurisdiction within the state of California. In El Cajon, sales of cannabis goods are not allowed for storefronts or deliveries.
We've been strongly against the proliferation of cannabis in El Cajon from pretty much every perspective.
Tuesday, El Cajon will consider sending a letter to the Bureau of Cannabis Control in opposition to allowing deliveries anywhere in the state.
Proposition 64 was pretty clear that part of the trade-off was that cities would have the ability to have some control over how marijuana was dispensed in their own cities. We think that this new push to allow the delivery inside the city is really outside of the spirit of 64, which in essence takes away our local control.
It is worth noting that the Bureau of Cannabis Control believes licensed marijuana deliveries are already legal anywhere under state law. A spokesman says newly proposed regulations are meant to clear up any confusion, but some critics disagree, saying that existing law is vague and confusing. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Public comment for the newly proposed regulations end on August 27th. Final regulations should be ready by the end of the year.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, President Trump signs off on a defense spending plan with a new focus on China and Russia. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
اینجا بود و آب مثلا خب آمریکا اینجا اومدن دیگه همه آبتون خوردن. I am one of the last foreign journalists still allowed to work here.
Joining us now is Tehran bureau chief for the New York Times.
Thomas Erdbrink, welcome to the program.
This is the mysterious and isolated country where I've been living and working for the past 17 years. I'm happy I choose you.
Of course you should be.
از من چی فکر می‌کردی مثلا؟
یکم نگران شدم. خب خارجی.
The United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
The only solution is to change the regime itself.
Nationwide protest.
The government has been failing all the time.
In this country especially, if you live with fear, you're done.
خب اون مأموریت این هست که مردم قدرت دستشون باشه.
ذهن من و قلب من و عمر من و جون من و با خود می همینجا بود؟ همونه؟
نمیخوام رایش کنم بدن من انتخاب
دست‌هایی تو کاره، من فکر کنم دست‌های مردها تو کاره. زن‌ها رو محدود کنه.
فکر می‌کنم شما از تغییر می‌ترسید.
من از تغییر خیلی می‌ترسم.
چرا؟
This passage from tradition to modernity takes a couple of generations.
Rady Children's Hospital of San Diego celebrated the opening on Saturday of a new facility in Murrietta. Rady Children's was already offering some services in various medical buildings in the region, but the new 3-story facility provides primary care and 15 specialty clinics under one roof. The CEO of Rady Children's Hospital says the campus features an Autism Discovery Institute and other developmental services.
In addition to just about every outpatient service you can imagine, from orthopedics to physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, all of this in Murrietta.
Kern says there was high demand for pediatric health in the area. Riverside County was recently ranked the 3rd fastest growing county in the nation. Take a trip around the world with Fiesta on the Avenue in City Heights. From the Media Arts Center, producer Mika Conke shows us food, music, and dancing is bringing the community together.
This is the Fiesta on the Avenue with Super Cocina and Las Marillanas. Businesses along the avenue here, University Avenue between the 805 and the 15, can participate with this business and community event.
We want to just let people know this is a very multicultural area. A lot of the people that are running these businesses were maybe not born in the United States. Their food, their culture is very direct from where they came from.
The restaurant's called Super Cocina. We've been in San Diego 30 years now. In City Heights, we've been over 20 years. We specialize regional cooking from the center to the south of Mexico, mostly guisados, which are the typical stews that we make at home.
To bring the community and businesses together through food, through music, dance, and through murals, art. Trying to get some of my neighbors in the community to come out, enjoy some tacos, enjoy some music, enjoy the artwork, enjoy each other's company, and support the businesses that are here with the Taco Tuesday event. And they can support the community as well by having some tables outside and some amazing food.
This report was produced by our Speak City Heights partner, Media Arts Center. Fiesta on the Avenue is set for next Tuesday, August 21st. Now here's a look at what we are working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, they're a key part of Germany's drinking tradition, how companies are coping with a beer bottle shortage. And on Midday Edition, the next opportunity to put a homeless initiative on the ballot won't be until 2020. But the San Diego Housing Federation is getting ready. That's tomorrow on KPBS Radio. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.